Welcome back to the Everyday Christian Podcast.
where we apply scriptural principles to everyday Christian lives. I'm John Rich.
And I'm Sean Slogan, and we're already messing up.
Yeah, I almost messed up the intro, bro.
Welcome back, everybody.
Yeah. Dude, we've been doing this podcast for like 5 years, and I think that I've probably messed up the intro maybe 3 times.
And every
Fully.
every one of them was live.
Everyone, yeah, the only ones that I've messed it up on were on Facebook Lives or YouTube Lives. I don't know. It's just ingrained in my brain now at this point, but like I rarely mess up the word, but like there was one time me and you were recording one. It wasn't live and we just recorded, and I really messed up, and I was like bragging on myself for a couple times before that. I was like, yeah, I rarely mess up. And then I messed up and it was like walk of shame. Had to humble myself, bro.
When we first started, or when I first started helping on the podcast, I probably messed it up 2 or 3 times every time. It's like, I don't know. I can sit there and talk to people for hours. We were actually just talking about this right before, but those people that just talk and talk and talk. And I'm one of those guys. I can just talk forever. And then you put me in front of a camera or something, and I was just welcome back. Wait,
what's the name of this podcast again?
What are we applying today?
Yeah, what are we applying for today?
But today we're going to be talking about the ups and downs of life, life in general. My chair's squeaking, sorry, and my attention deficit squirrel kicks in. So y'all pardon me.
Right.
The ups and downs of life, and the ups and downs of just being a Christian. You know, this is something that I personally have been dealing with in my life recently. So I figured that if I am dealing with this, then there are probably others out there that are as well. You know, life always has a way of being up, being down, getting at you. You know, there's always those days. There's days where nothing seems to be going right. You know, the roof has a leak, the wife's car is overheating, your injectors are going out in your truck, you have multiple flat tires on your trailer, and your truck and trailer is part of your livelihood, and your kid got a failing grade at school, and you woke up late, and
it sounds very personal, Brother Sean. I don't.
Well, the next line is, these are real things that I have experienced recently. So yes, it is very personal.
Yeah, I guess so.
Maybe not necessarily the bad grades. My kids are, I'm not going to say my kids are geniuses or they're perfect, but they're pretty close to it.
Yeah.
So,
right.
let's beat that, you know. And I'm not saying these things to get your attention, to make you feel bad for me, feel sorry for me. You know, it is just a part of life.
Mm.
You know, my injectors did go out on my truck, and I dropped it off last Thursday to get worked on, which back up a little farther, I was supposed to have it there Monday and I forgot. I thought I was supposed to have it there Thursday. So I made a mistake. I get it there several days late. You know, the mechanics, they go, I'll try to look at it, but I don't know if I can. Totally understand. I said, well, come pick it up Friday evening, whether you have a chance to look at it or not, because I have jobs starting next week. He said, no problem. Well, he forgot to tell his guys. They put it in the bay and locked it up. So when I show up Friday evening to pick my truck up, I can't get to it. Mm-hmm. They're closed Saturday and Sunday. So then Monday I try to get over there and get it because I have jobs and they've already got it torn apart, which it's a great mechanics. I've got no complaints with them. You know, just some miscommunication. So I had to push a job off today, and I got out there to start the job, and it was a yard cleanup. Winds are blowing at 15, 20 miles an hour, so I'm trying to rake leaves, and I can't get them raked up because the wind's blowing it, and life.
Right.
It's not, I'm not saying that, again, I'm not saying it's for you to feel sorry. It's just, you know, it's part of what happens sometimes.
Yeah.
And I can say it with a smile on my face. You know, it was a rough day. I had to fight a bunch of stuff, but I'm still blessed. I'm still here. You know, trucks, trucks are man-made. So guess what? They're going to break down.
Yeah.
They don't make perfect parts for them, unfortunately. The job that I was doing today, I pulled up at almost 9:00 to start this job, which is it's not me. And he kind of joked to me a little bit. It's like, I wondered if you were going to show up and if you were trying to recruit help and all these things. And I said, man, I'm sorry. Pointed at my truck. I said, I've been dealing with him. And he popped off to me and he said, he owns a Ford truck. He said, well, if you owned a Ford instead of a Dodge,
Yeah,
you wouldn't have those problems.
Of course.
We laughed about it. And I said, you're probably right. I wouldn't have injector problems, but I'd have gasket issues.
Yeah,
I'd have
you wouldn't be
EGR
driving at all, yeah.
problems. And I went on down the list of problems that Ford has. And again, we laughed and agreed about it because we both understand every vehicle you get is going to have issues.
Right.
My wife has a GMC Acadia, and it's overheating.
Yeah.
So guess what? GMC doesn't make great vehicles either.
Right.
Just and these personal experiences. Shingles. I had shingles blow off my roof from a storm 5 months ago now. Been fighting insurance on it. Cool.
Of course.
Insurance is horrible to work with. And if anybody works insurance, I'm sorry. I'm not saying that to take a shot at you, but it's always just this hassle. And, some people told me, I wanted to get a metal roof. Me and my wife were talking about it. And some people would tell me, oh man, don't get a metal roof. You'll regret it. And yada, this and that, and this is wrong and that's wrong. Others encourage me to get it because it's so much better. They had their list of reasons why. Metal, shingles, whatever, they're still man-made. They're still going to mess up.
Yeah.
They're still going to break down. We weighed our options. We looked at what was best, and we picked metal. In the end of the day, it's my decision, my wife's decision, not everybody else's, which that's different podcast.
Sure. Yeah.
Doesn't matter what your parents, your in-laws, your neighbors, your cousins, what all they have to say. It's up to you. But again, point being, things happen. You take a trailer to a landfill, you're going to get nails in your tires. Talk to anybody in the junk removal industry or anybody that goes to a landfill very often. They say, we figure for you to have a flat twice a month. Like they just put it in their estimates to balance it out. But remember, it's a part of life. If everything was perfect, sometimes I think it would get boring.
Yeah.
But Jonathan.
Yeah. And I think that we sort of, when things aren't going our way, when things aren't going well, when things aren't perfect, when we're struggling with different things on a physical standpoint, on a spiritual standpoint, on a mental standpoint, I think the easiest thing that we do or try to do is blame other things or blame other people or blame the devil, I think it's important as Christians to understand the attack of the enemy. I also think that it's important as Christians for us to understand when the enemy's not attacking. Or, we say we blame others or we blame ourselves. I think we sometimes are our own biggest enemy. We think about different things that are happening, and what always goes through my mind for some reason, I don't know why, is, and perhaps it's because of indoctrination, but a lot of it is, what am I doing wrong that's causing all these things to happen?
Right.
What am I, maybe I'm not praying enough. Maybe I'm not reading the Bible enough. Maybe I'm not seeking God enough. Maybe I'm not going to church enough. Maybe I'm not volunteering enough. All of these things. And it always comes to me whenever things are going wrong or whenever the car does break down or whenever I have that unexpected bill pop up. It's always, what am I doing wrong? What am I not spiritually doing that's causing me to see the repercussions on the physical side of things? And I think that the more I grow in Christ, the more of hogwash I realize that actually is, because it's just life. The crazy thing about life is Bible tells us that the sun goes up and it goes down on the just and the unjust. It rains on the just and on the unjust. And the reason that scripture is there is to show us that, a couple things. A, God gives us free will. And B, it doesn't matter if you're a Christian or not, you're going to face things, you're going to face trials, you're going to face obstacles that are going to not just bring you opposition from a spiritual level, but they're going to bring you opposition from a physical level as well. It's easy to want to give up. And if you're listening to this podcast and you're not a Christian, I encourage you, don't give up, because others are facing similar things. Others are facing the same thing. Others are facing worse things. I mean, if I look at, and I could talk about this forever, but I talked to Jude, my youngest son. His big thing right now is, my day is ruined. That's what he says. My life is ruined. That's kind of what he goes with.
How old is he?
He turned 90. He turned 7 this year.
Ruined day already.
And so, like, the other day I was helping him with school, and he had like 2 pages of like math to do. They're like the easiest thing ever. He knows how to do it. He just didn't want to do it at that time. Yeah. And so it's like, what's going on, dude? He's like, my day is ruined. And so my first thought was, I listen to him. I try to comfort him, but I also try to help him see perspective. It's like, dude, you say your day is ruined because you have to fill out 2 math pages, but you're not somewhere on the other side of the world starving to death day by day. You're not on some of the other side of the world that, you don't have parents, or you don't have people that love you or care for you. There's people that don't have roofs over their head. I'm like trying to tell him all these things because our perspective is really inside of a bubble, and I've never been on a missions trip, by the way. And I've been to other countries. I've never actually been on a missions trip, but I have seen, other countries and where they're at from a physical governmental standpoint, whatever you want to call it. And it gave me perspective. It's like, yeah, my car broke down today or had a flat tire today, but I could have been held hostage by gangs in Haiti. Mm-hmm. Yeah, my car ran out of gas or whatever, or this unexpected bill came up and we're struggling financially already or whatever. But I'm not, sitting on the streets of wherever starving to death or wondering, how I'm going to feed my family. I'm not doing any of those things. So I think that a lot of this depends on a couple of things. Number one, it depends on where our attitude is in regards to playing the blame game versus just realizing it's life. And the second thing is perspective.
Right.
Am I better? I was thinking the other day, I'm like, oh man, like we blew a tire on the highway like last month or something like that. And I thought about that. It was annoying at the time. I mean, it was a down, in my opinion. It was a down. Ruined. It was ruined, the whole day it was just ruined. And I thought about it and I'm like, I remember what it was like when I didn't have a car. I remember what it was like when I didn't have a wife or kids. I remember what it was like when I couldn't make trips. Like my wife and I, especially first married, like where we couldn't afford to just drive 2 hours somewhere. But when I think about that from a perspective standpoint, I realize that God's blessed me with more than I deserve. God's given me grace beyond measure, mercy beyond measure. And when I start to look at my life and compare it to others in regards of, hey, they're doing better than me, that's wrong. If I look at it as I'm better than I once was, I'm changed now, and I could have it way, way, way worse off, I think that helps my mindset as far as being down as a Christian or being down as a person in general, Brother Sean.
No, perspective is a huge thing. Like you said, I think of stories of things that have happened. One instance in particular was a truck that me and my brother actually shared.
Yeah.
That we were 15 and 17 or something like that. We were of driving age. And the transmission went out on it.
Yeah.
And my brother was driving it. And he had one of those moments. He's like, man, what am I doing wrong? Like,
yeah, for sure.
And, looking back on it, it's like, man, we weren't We weren't doing anything. We were driving a truck that had
Yeah.
transmission problems.
Yeah.
But then looking back, I think we got that truck for like $1,200. I mean, it was dirt cheap, which now we
Yeah,
know why we got it
for
so
sure.
cheap was
Yeah,
because
absolutely.
we had to put 3 or 4 transmissions in it before we finally got smart enough to
Yeah,
sell it.
exactly.
But it's all, are you really doing something wrong or is it just part of it?
Right.
This truck that I have sitting out there, it's a 2006 Dodge. So it's 19 years old. What I like, me and my wife were actually talking about this here recently. Would I like to update it? Yeah. It's got 230. I think I just crossed 238,000 miles. So it's got a lot of miles.
Right.
It's a diesel pickup. So it's, it's just getting started on a lot of this stuff. But as anybody that's ever had diesels understand, when diesels break, they're expensive to fix.
Sure, yeah.
So in my mind, I'm like, and I'll be honest. When this bill came in on these injectors, or we got to talk about it, I was like, my goodness, this stupid truck. Again. But it was my choice to buy the truck, first of all.
Yeah.
I could have bought any other truck, but I chose this truck. I've worked this truck to death. It pulls dump trailers 3 or 4 times a week that's loaded down with stuff. It is my livelihood. So it's always being used. What do I expect to happen with it? I know people right now that would love to have that truck sitting outside right now.
For sure, yeah.
And I'm over here. My day is ruined because of it.
Yeah.
Did you say you?
I'll take it, yeah.
I got a truck for sale if anybody wants. No, I'm kidding. Jonathan and I, right before this started, we were talking about this season we're going into.
Yeah.
We are in Oklahoma and we're in tornado season. And
pray for us.
Yes, pray for us. Pray for my mom. I hate tornado season. It bugs me to death.
Me too.
I'm on edge for 2 or 3 months out of the year, worse than others, because I don't deal with the unknown, and there might be a tornado out there somewhere, but it's 3:00 in the morning, so you can't see it.
Yeah.
All this stuff going on. But I have to remind myself as well, man, is it tornado season? Yeah. Has my house been hit by a tornado yet? I think maybe one time when I lost my roof in November.
Yeah.
It wasn't a direct hit, but they said there was rotation going around. I lost trees, trampolines, bunch of shingle stuff. Okay, so I've been living in this house for almost 11 years now, I think, 10 years, something like that.
Yeah.
And I've had one time where I've had to file an insurance claim over a bad storm. Now, if you guys go an hour and a half up the road here, you end up in Oklahoma City. And Moore and Norman.
Yeah.
Moore and Norman. If they say there's going to be a tornado, Moore and Norman is going to get hit. I don't know.
Right.
I don't know why they're still building there.
Yeah. If they say there's going to be a tornado in Arkansas, Moore and Norman are getting hit.
Moore just must get
it. It just is what it is.
So, I have to remind myself about this. I'm like, it's not as bad as would I like to be in Florida where it's always sunny and I guess there's tsunami.
Hurricanes.
Not tsunami, but hurricanes there. Everywhere you go, there's going to be a problem somewhere. Yeah. There's hurricanes. Well, let's go to California. Now you got earthquakes. Yeah. Everybody has something they're dealing with. It's all part of it.
Right.
And that kind of got me over thinking about the life of David. David, there are people that have made comments about David being bipolar and schizophrenic and things like that. And when they first said that, I was like, man, that's a reach. And then you start reading a lot of it.
Yeah.
And you're like, that may not be that far off. Just several things that happened throughout of his life. We talk about the ups and the downs. And when I got this truck, it was amazing for me. I loved that I got this truck. I got me a work truck finally. I had a podunk little truck before this that would get 3 miles to a gallon if somebody was in the bed of it. I mean, like, it was horrible truck.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say horrible.
Yeah.
It was a good truck. It just wasn't a work truck, so I upgraded this, and it's a good time right now. I got a truck, and then I think I had to rebuild the front end was the first thing I had, and then okay, now I got a low, and then all these. But look at the life of David, just a lowly shepherd boy.
Mm.
Good times. I mean, the Bible doesn't talk much about it, but it seemed as if he had a good life. He had a home. We
Yeah.
know that. They had sheep, so they all had jobs. They
Right.
all had things to do. Killed I don't remember which it was, a lion or the bear
and a
first.
bear.
I don't know that it
which was
says
first.
exactly.
I don't know if it does.
Kills a lion and a bear. Man, if I killed a lion and a bear, bare hands, I'd be pretty high. I'm like, dude, let me tell you something. I
Pretty
did.
cool. Yeah. Right.
Then he's anointed king.
Yeah.
I mean, that comes with, of course, that comes with a lot of weight and pressure. But he's like, man, I've been chosen to do something.
Yeah.
Well, as soon as that's over with, he goes to the throne room.
Hmm.
No.
Yeah. Right.
Guess what? He went right back out in the fields.
Mhm. He was anointed long before that. Like,
long before.
Yeah. Years.
I don't know how old he was when he was anointed, but he was still living in his parents' house. He was 30. They say
I think it was anywhere from 7 to 12 is when he was anointed, somewhere around there.
Really?
Yeah.
I believe he was
King.
around 37
Yeah.
when he was anointed king.
When he became king. Yeah.
Or,
Yeah.
not anointed, but when he was crowned
Yeah.
king, when he took it. So think of that.
Yeah.
If somebody said, you've got a calling on your life and you're going to do great things about
Right.
it in 25 years.
Cool.
I mean, that's great and all, but what the mind games now for me,
Yeah.
dude, immediately the mind games start off for me.
Yeah.
Am I going to be able to do it? Of course, God anointed him, it was by the prophet, I'm going to be able to do it. 3 weeks later, man, why is this taking so long? God, what's
Right.
help me?
Right.
Lord. Like, why am I struggling with this? Like, why can't it just hurry? Then you go fight Goliath and you slay
Mhm.
Goliath, and it's like, yeah, man, we're back on top here.
Yeah. Here we go.
And then you go, you think about those high moments. Saul has slain his 1,000, but David is 10,000, and you're riding this thing. You did that with a slingshot while
Yeah.
everybody else is a
Yeah.
suit of armor, and then you go back to the fields.
Yeah.
You're a hero.
Yeah.
Folklore talks
Right.
about this guy.
Right.
And we see and we hear of all these cool, great things, but then he went back to being a shepherd boy,
Yeah.
and things mellowed back out. Then he's called to come play his harp in Saul's presence.
Mhm.
And I know I'm missing some facts through here. I don't have the whole storyline, but just pointing some of these things out. And he's finally in the throne, or in
Close, yeah.
he's in the castle, or he's there.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if it was castles or whatever they called him back then, but he's there. And then Saul tries to kill him.
Yeah.
You
Right.
crash
Right
back down.
Yeah.
Saul starts chasing him through the countryside. He didn't just try to kill him there. He chased him around.
Yeah.
David's now hiding in caves, trying to just, and you're going, man, I got another low. Jonathan, his best friend, is trying to be there for him,
Yeah.
trying to lift him up. Then years down the road, Jonathan and Saul die in battle.
Mhm.
I mean, if my best friend died, that's low.
Yeah.
I'm going to be at a low point.
Right.
Then he's made king. Well, now we're trending upward again.
Yeah.
David conquers Jerusalem,
Right.
expands the land. Another great. Then he commits adultery,
Yeah.
has to kill a man over it.
Mm.
thinks everything is okay. We're doing okay. I mean, I messed up, I sinned, but nobody knows, so we're okay.
Yeah.
It's it's not great, but we're not up here, but we're okay.
Yeah.
Then the prophet Nathan comes in and starts, giving him this story about the one sheep. And David's like, man, we got to get this guy. This guy needs to pay the price for this.
Yeah.
And then the prophet calls him out and he
It's
says,
like,
that's you, dude.
Yeah. It's one of my favorite stories.
Now he crashed. Now
Yeah.
everybody's going to find out.
Yeah.
David messed up big time.
Right.
He loses that son. Another low. But then Solomon's born.
Yeah.
Oh, great. We're back up.
Right.
All throughout David's life, Absalom murders Adam. David forgives Absalom. Absalom takes the throne from David. Absalom is killed. David returns to the throne. Still more problems persist.
Yeah.
Up, down,
Yeah.
up, down, up, down. If you ever want to truly read and study about somebody whose life was on a roller coaster, that's your guy.
Yeah.
Jonathan.
Go read about David. Go read about Joseph. Joseph's another person that, throughout the Bible, they've certainly had their ups and downs. And I think that,
from Pharaoh's house to the prison to the palace.
Yeah. It took a while to be.
And we just read through it. And it's like, oh, cool. Look, all this happened. But that was years.
Well, we don't really look at the in between, and I hate to keep harping on this, but I've got a point that I'm trying to make. So just bear with me, but not every one of those things were spiritual battles, but every one of those things were something that God could use to further his plan. Like, I think that or that the devil could use for sure. Yeah.
We talk about these situations like my truck, or my, when the transmission went out on that other truck and my brother was running, what did I do wrong? He didn't do anything wrong.
Yeah.
Could the devil have used that situation to get him depressed, to get him fighting more battles? Absolutely.
Right.
But it's not.
Well, no, you're fine. I think those two things are your biggest enemy. I mean, I said that earlier. It's like, yes, the devil is your enemy. Don't get me wrong. I'm never going to take anything away from that. But you're also probably a worse enemy than the devil is, because I think that we face those situations and those trials, and it's easy to be like, the devil's really attacking me. And it's just like, you're just attacking yourself. Like, your mind is like, you're beating yourself up. I think we said this in either the last episode or a couple episodes back, but it's like, you are beating yourself up, and we can blame everything, but regardless if it's a spiritual warfare, whether it's just physical, I think that, again, y'all are going to lose out on me with this, but I do think that we sort of blame everything on spiritual warfare. We blame everything on the devil, or we blame everything on our lack of spirituality, whatever it is. But sometimes it's just life. And there are things that there are things that God probably doesn't even care about, that you worry about and think, well, God, what are you trying to teach me? But aside from all that, there are lessons to be learned. It's like, okay, my tire, blew on the highway. I just said that a moment ago. Why didn't I check my tires before I left? I went on a 2-hour trip. I didn't even check my tires on the way back home. Why didn't I do that? Well, now I know before I go on a long trip, and, if I'm going down the road.
You see wires, there may be time to get a new one.
Yeah. If you see wires there, it might be time. If you check, it's the same thing with like the oil or, whatever. It's like, if your car's rattling, you should probably put some oil in it. There's just things like that. Have an emergency fund. Whenever bills arise, it's like, I can take that emergency fund and put it towards those bills that are, not unknown, or whatever you want to call it. But I think that we sort of take these situations, we take these moments, and instead of them being stepping stones for us to reach our greatest potential in God or just in life in general, we just take them and beat ourselves up. and we just continually knock ourselves down. And that's a good thing. Like we were talking about David, but the good thing about David, man, for the longest time on this podcast, probably every episode we talked about David. And so forgive us if we're doing it again. But the thing about David is he surrounded himself with people that could lift him up, that could help him. It's like if Sean calls me and is like, I got all these problems, it's like, I'm here for you. I'll pray for you. Do you need me to come help you with something? You got to get something going on.
That's not true. He never answers his phone.
If I have something going on and I've got trouble and I'm telling Sean, same thing from his side.
I'll answer if he calls me.
Same thing from his side. It's like if I have trouble, I would assume that if I shared that with him, he would do whatever it took to help me. And I mean, he has before, and I appreciate that, but it's all about who you surround yourself with as well. If you are going through the ups and downs of life and you're secluding yourself, or you are distancing yourself from people that could help you, or distancing yourself from God, that is not the proper steps to take. David went through all those things, but David was surrounded. David did some stupid things in his life that he regrets, but he was surrounded by people who loved him, cared for him, and could tell him the truth when he needed to hear it, Brother Sean.
Yeah. For those of us that read our Bibles often, you'll recognize some of these, and maybe some of you that don't. But go read Psalms if you get a chance. I know it's a long book, but and I know not all of the Psalms were wrote by David, but even just reading the Psalms, I mean, there's Psalms of distress. There's Psalms of praise.
Right.
There's Psalms of all these things. Some of the highs. Bless the Lord, O my soul. Lord, be a light unto my path. I will praise your name forever. All these lifting ups to some extreme lows.
Yeah, right.
My soul thirsteth for thee. Where is thy God?
Right.
I believe it was Psalms 22. He said, my God, why hast thou forsaken me? My God, where in the world are you at?
Yeah, right.
I am weary of crying. They that hate me are more than the hairs of my head.
Yeah.
I mean, some of these, you're like, this dude's got it figured out. And then sometimes you're like, man, this guy's got it as bad as I do.
Yeah.
Or worse. David had some rough times, and we see it. But he also had some great times. There were those times where David questioned where God even was, much like Job. I look to my left, he's not there. Look to the right, where is he? I look in front of me, behind me. I can't perceive him. I can't find him.
Yeah.
But he knoweth the way that I take.
Yeah.
That is important. We all have times where we feel like life has us down.
Yeah.
Where we don't feel as close to God as before. If you're feeling that, do a search into it.
Yeah.
See why. Do you not feel as close to God as before because you're not spending as much time with him?
Mm.
If I don't feel as close to Jonathan as I once have, I'm going to be like, when's the last time I text him?
Yeah.
When's the last time we hung out together? It's been 3 weeks. Well, that's probably why you're missing him.
Right.
I haven't talked to him. I haven't spent time in his presence.
Yeah.
That's an easy fix. I say easy, but spend more time with him.
Yeah.
If you don't feel as close to God and you realize it's because you're not spending time with him, I encourage you, spend more time with him. Talk to him. Pray. Read your Bible more. If you are doing everything that you know to do and still don't feel as close to him, remember, he knows the way that you're taking.
Yeah.
He knows your steps. If you're doing your part, he's helping to order your steps.
Yeah.
He is being a light on your path, and he sees right where you are.
Right.
And like Jonathan said, surround yourself with those that'll lift you up.
Yeah.
And when you're dealing in the business world, they always, not, I shouldn't say always, but they make comments, different ones do, about, make sure you're not the smartest person in the room. Because if you're not, then you're looking to somebody to learn, to try to get yourself better, to improve yourself.
Right.
And you're going to go find those people and you're going to try to feed off of them.
Yeah.
If you want to work in the real estate world, you're going to go find people who deal in real estate that are successful, and you're going to spend time with them and talk to them and learn. You're not going to go to somebody who owns a furniture business and try to learn it.
Mhm.
Find God, get close to him, but know he knows right where you're at.
Think about that, and I'm just kind of interjecting here, but think about that is, when we're doing everything we can to find God, because there's been moments where I know that I've been spiritually fine. I haven't committed any sin that I didn't know about or whatever. But there have been moments where it's like you're seeking God and you're trying to find him and you're fasting and you're praying and you still, you feel like David. It's like God's not there. I mean, where is he? But I found that in my years of being saved, I found that even though sometimes I don't know where God is, God always knows where I am. And that's enough for me. I mean, sometimes I don't feel him. Sometimes I don't sense his presence or whatever. He knows where I am. He knows, and maybe it is a test, whatever. Maybe it is something that he's trying to teach me. But I take hope in that. I give faith in that even though I don't always know or feel him, he knows where I'm at. He knows what I'm going through, and he can comfort me through that, Brother Sean.
Yeah, I know for me and my wife, if we spend time apart together, she'll go to see family for a couple of days or something.
Yeah.
I miss her when she's gone.
Right.
But when she gets back, like let's spend a little bit more time together.
Yeah.
It seemingly draws us
Right.
closer
Oh, for sure.
and
Yeah.
makes me crave that
true.
more and want to spend more time. So if
Right.
it is a test,
Yeah.
keep pushing through, because once
Mhm.
you break
Yeah.
through that,
It's experience. Yeah, for
man,
sure.
you'll be so glad you did. But I don't feel saved. Okay. Again, let's ask
Why
why.
not? Yeah.
Are you saved? A lot of times people are like, man, I'm saved, but I just don't feel it.
Right.
Okay, well, how do you know you're saved? Well, I prayed through,
Mhm.
and I'm still praying, and I'm still reading my Bible. I'm still doing all these things. Okay, well, talk to me a little more about it.
Yeah.
Man, the devil's just been fighting me, and he keeps bringing up all these things that said this happened and that happened, and you can't be saved if you did that. Is it under the blood? I mean,
Right.
and
Right.
I'm not trying to be harsh or anything. I've dealt with these
Oh,
things.
yeah.
I do deal with these things.
Yeah.
And I have to remind myself, or I have to call Jonathan or Dad or somebody,
Right.
and I've been the one asking these questions, and they're the ones saying,
Yeah.
"Did you get it prayed through?" Well, yeah.
What's the big deal? Yeah.
Then okay, get back, devil. Shut up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Leave me alone. You've already fixed it.
Yeah.
And we did a podcast. It's been a while about the forgive and forget.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
God's moved on.
Right. Right.
If it's done and the devil's the only one pestering you about it, and
Yeah.
when those things come along, I'll try to look at him like, what is this dealing with me? And I know it's not that we can just decipher, well, that's definitely the devil or that's definitely God dealing with me. But when those things come up, I'm like, man, is this my conscience really dealing with me, or is it
Yeah.
just something that just popped in my head because I'm struggling with everything else?
Yeah.
If my conscience is really bothering me over it, then I'm going to go pray about it. Make sure I have it
Right.
covered.
Right.
But if it's just like, man, it's just been a really hard day, and this happened, and it brought back that memory one time,
Yeah.
you're probably all right.
Right.
I haven't seen God. I've never laid eyes on him.
Yeah.
Who else here at? No, we haven't.
Right.
Nobody's seen God. But we felt his presence,
Yeah.
and we will feel it again. We don't have to see God, but he sees us.
Right.
You know, we talk about the wind all the time. I mean, not we as me and Jonathan, but it's always talked about.
Especially in Oklahoma.
Yeah, especially right now where it's we've had 60, 70 mile an hour wind gusts at least once a week for
Right.
probably close to a month now.
Yeah.
We've got more of it coming in tonight.
Yep.
Tornado watch, all that good stuff. I don't see the wind, never have seen the wind, but I can see the effects of it.
Right.
I can see when I can't see the wind, but I can see when it's here.
Yeah.
I can
Yeah.
hear it when it's here.
Right. Feel it.
When my trampoline starts bouncing across the yard, like, well, it's windy outside.
Yeah, right.
Because I see something happening.
Yeah.
And even if you don't feel God right now, look to see if you can see something happening in life,
Yeah.
at church, in your home, wherever. We've always walked this walk by faith. It's always been a walk of faith. So don't stop now. Even when you don't know or seem to know what to do, lean into him more. I've got a mentor that tells me that. I'm like, man, I'm confused. I don't know what to do. I'm struggling with this. And he'll say, Sean, do you trust me? Yeah, I trust you. He said, then lean into me.
Yeah.
He said, we'll figure it out. Just lean into me
Mhm.
and I'll help you get there. He knows what to do and he's probably dealt with it before. He's not going to tell me. I know him well enough. He's not going to tell me how to fix it.
Yeah.
He's going to say, lean into me and we're going to get through it. And he'll guide me through and we'll figure it out. And then
Yeah.
looking back, I'm like, man, that wasn't so hard
Right.
after all.
Right.
Or sometimes that was miserable,
Yeah.
but I
for
made
sure.
it. But God knows right where you are.
Right.
And he knows where you're headed, as long as you're following after him. He knows where you're headed. He knows even if you're not following after him, I guess. But the path may not be laid out perfectly, but he sees you. He cares, and he isn't far away.
Yeah. That's the thing about wind. We talk about wind when we see the effect of wind, but there's actually always wind. Even if we don't see leaves blowing, there's always some form of wind, whatever it is, and however fast it's going. Sometimes we don't see trampolines flying through, the yard or whatever, but the wind is there.
Yeah.
And God did that on purpose. God created these things purposely. It's like the sun. I know the sun's here, like the sun's going down right now, but I know that it's there because it's light outside. I don't see it though. I mean, there's clouds all day today. There have been clouds, but I know that the sun is there because that's what God set in motion.
It's up and it's down.
Yeah. And all those things God did in the world prove to us that even if we don't always feel him, even if we don't always see him, he's still there. As sure as the sun rises and the sun goes down, as sure as there is wind outside. So in closing with this, think about that perspective. It's just go back to that. Think about where you're at with God. If your life's fine, spiritually speaking, if you're saved, you don't have to have the burden of guilt. You don't have to have the burden of past sins. If you're going through a trial physically, sometimes it's just nature. Sometimes it's just, hey, I forgot to change my oil 3 months ago. Sometimes it's just, oh no, my wife left the car on empty for me. Sometimes it's just simple things that have nothing to do with your spirituality or nothing to do with whether or not you can feel God. But know this, that whatever you go through, whatever you're going through, God's there. God loves you. God cares for you. And God can make a way out for you, even if it means losing things in the physical form, even if it means your car breaking down and never starting ever again. I've had that happen a couple times. Even if it means, you losing however much money on whatever debt that you owe, even if it means all those things, God is still in control. Put your faith in him, put your trust in him, and realize that things are just going to happen. We're going to have ups and downs, and it's how we learn from the downs that help us get higher and higher and closer, I believe, closer to him. So do you have anything else in this episode? Yeah.
Jonathan just said something. He said, God will get you out of it. And this is something that I think we fail to understand a lot of, or fail to realize a lot of times, is we pray for God to get us out of situations. And I don't think he meant it this way, but I'm
Right.
just in case anybody's wondering. Sometimes the way out is through.
Right. That's true.
I mean, he just said that, maybe sometimes you'll lose money on it, but you'll figure it out.
Yeah.
That's through it.
Right.
Daniel had to spend the night in the lion's den.
Exactly.
God didn't get him out of that situation.
Yeah.
He went through the situation to get out.
Yeah.
I shouldn't, not that God didn't get him out of the situation, but God didn't relieve him of the situation. I should say that. He put him through it and then got him out.
Yeah.
The 3 Hebrew boys,
Yeah.
they weren't spared from the fire.
Right.
They were put through the fire.
Right. Exactly.
And going through got them out.
Yeah.
So these trials, whether it's something that we have put on ourselves by not changing the oil and the motor blowing,
Yeah.
or it is something spiritual that we're dealing with, lean into Christ.
Right.
Lean into the good ones around you,
Yes.
your friends, your pastor,
Right.
whoever you can, your spouse.
Right.
Lean into them. And you may get pulled out of the situation, but if you have to go through the situation, you'll still come out.
Yes.
That's all I have. Are you done?
Yeah, absolutely.
right.
I want to thank everybody for joining us and listening in. Thankful for all of our viewers, comments, questions, likes, shares. We appreciate everyone who's been involved. You obviously, if first time you're listening to us on Facebook or on any podcast app, let me tell you how to find us. So you can find us on all social media platforms, and you can find us on our podcast now on certain platforms by searching at Podcasts for Him. I've got it on the ticker there at the bottom, but that at Podcast, the number for Him. Or you can search us on the social media page or platform of your choice by searching the Everyday Christian Podcast. Every and day are 2 separate words, the Everyday Christian Podcast. And we want to thank you all again for joining us and say God bless.
God bless.